Side Hustle Show 104, how to find and validate your first import product. Hey, in a couple minutes, you're going to hear me say there's a free training event put on by Will on March 22nd. The correct date is April 22nd. Thank you so much to Phil Ferguson at Phil_Ferguson on Twitter for letting me know about that. Hope to see you there.
Welcome to the Side Hustle Show, where aspiring part-time entrepreneurs learn how to turn their side hustle dreams into reality. Because your 9 to 5 may make you a living, but your 5 to 9 makes you alive. And now, your host, Nick Loper.
Hey everybody, Nick Loper here. Welcome to the Side Hustle Show. Thanks so much for joining me. This is episode 104. How to find and validate your first import product. Will Mitchell from StartupBros.com is in the house dropping the importing wisdom into our earbuds, or gently placing it perhaps. If you're not a reader of the Startup Bros blog, you should be. It's definitely one of my faves. They're known for big, it's big detailed case studies, step-by-step tutorials, tons of fun stuff. Will runs it with his fellow bro, Kyle, who I don't think they're actually brothers, but they are StartupBros.com. On this call, we're going to dive into kind of brainstorming and researching your first product to sell through Amazon FBA. How to work with the manufacturers to get your samples in hand, and how to sell those to validate the demand, the pricing, and the logistics. Sound good? All the notes and links for this call are at sidehustlenation.com/104. And once you're over there, you can also download a free PDF with all the details Will shares, plus his top tips for getting started with product importing. And he's actually been kind enough to offer even more free import business training for Side Hustle Nation. If you are around on March 22nd, that's Wednesday, March 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, visit sidehustlenation.com/import to sign up for that free training with Will. And if that time does not work for you, there will be a replay, but you do need to register in advance at sidehustlenation.com/import. And if you're listening in the distant or not so distant future, and that date has passed, I will update that link so it still goes somewhere good, so it doesn't leave you to a dead end page. sidehustlenation.com/import. Of course, and that's kind of a silly thing to say. Of course, you're listening in the future. You remember the Mitch Hedberg joke or Mitch Hedberg line? He's like, "Hey, here's a picture of me when I was younger." Every picture of you is a picture when you were younger. All right. With that, let's get into it. Hey, Will, welcome to the Side Hustle Show.
Hey, Nick, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Everybody, Will is one half of StartupBros.com, one of my new favorite blogs. I feel like I'm a relative newcomer to this site, but they publish a ton of really in-depth tutorials and stuff. So pretty cool. I think I found you guys when I was looking for like how to, what makes a great book cover or something, like what to send your designer. I was like, oh man, this is really good stuff.
Yeah, we have one good one on that. Yeah, we it really started as trying to help entrepreneurs create their first profitable business online. And it's just really gotten focused now onto importing and everything. So
exactly, I'm glad you bring that up, because we're about to dive into how to build an importing empire, I guess, on the side. It's all about the importing products, the Amazon business. So we talked about with Andy. I know we mentioned the episode with Andy Slamans from back in December has been the most popular episode of the show to date, and so we'll see if. And he was a student of yours, yes?
Yep. Andy is still a current client of ours, and one of our favorites. He's really active in our community, very helpful. He actually, just yesterday posted one of his screenshots, so he is doing very well. So I hope I can top his session. I don't know. We'll see if I can add to it.
We'll see if we can build on what he the knowledge he laid down and see if we can get people going. But so that might be a good place to start. So he kind of talked about overview, importing. We talked a little bit about sourcing products, a little bit about, dealing with the manufacturers and stuff like that. That might be a good place to start, because that's the question that I get most often is, hey, I'd love to do FBA, or I'd love to do this private labeling, but I'm still trying to find a product to work with. I'm still trying to figure out what I could sell. And so when people come to you with that question, what advice do you give them?
So that's definitely one of the most common questions we get, and I think that's really the first big obstacle that people that get into us find. It's really easy to just kind of get lost in product research. Especially if you don't know really what you're doing and you haven't done it before, it's tough to know what matters, what doesn't matter, what you should be looking at, how you should be weighing all these different things. So comparing products is a big problem too. What we generally recommend, we actually have, kind of early to mention a bonus, I guess, but we actually have a kind of product research workbook that we give out to our clients, and we just recently started giving this out as kind of a freebie. So I can definitely hook you up with that, Nick, and you can hook your audience up with that. I think it's at startupbros.com/workbook. But so you can download that, and that's just an instant download, no email necessary or anything. So that's just a freebie for you guys. So we recommend people jump into that product research workbook, and it's basically a spreadsheet that has all these different data points from 3 different websites that we recommend people look at, and those are Amazon, Alibaba, and Terapeak. And those 3 websites are really the only websites I look at when I'm doing product research.
What was the third one? Terapeak?
Terapeak, yeah, and that's an interesting one. They're a company that partnered up with eBay, and they actually have exclusive rights to all of eBay's sales data. So they're really I think the best source of e-commerce data that there is. So you can kind of dive into all of eBay sales data and really crunch the numbers in cool ways and get some really cool data out of that to see exactly. Analyze, the market for each individual product rather than just trying to find a niche or, a product to copy or anything like that.
Okay, that's TERA peak, as in, a mountain peak. We'll link to that and all the stuff in the show notes as well.
Yep, and they have a 7-day free trial as well. I always recommend people, wait to pull the trigger on that 7-day free trial until you're ready to do that product research. Until you can sit down on a weekend or something and do it, because really that 7 days is all you need to find a good product and get the ball rolling. So,
okay. Do you? Sorry, go ahead.
From that product research workbook, people, I think most of your audience, you got a pretty smart audience out there. So I think they'll be able to figure that workbook out on their own. But yeah, you're basically just going through and pulling a few different data points from those 3 websites. And the workbook's going to go through and kind of give you a really good comparative view of all these different products. So we always recommend people, go through, get the data on the spreadsheet for 50, 100 products and just kind of run through and do it really quick. Don't even really think about a lot, just focus on speed. And then once you have 100 products on that spreadsheet, it becomes a lot easier to pick a good product out of 100 that kind of caught your eye, rather than just kind of browsing around Amazon. And that's what I feel most people do. They don't really know, they don't have a focus or a goal with their product research. They're just kind of waiting for that silver bullet. So that's what we recommend to people is, get a ton of products out there and use kind of the law of averages to your advantage and just compare all those products and find the best ones.
Right. So how are you seeding that initial research? I mean, you got to type in like something to start with, right?
Right. So we usually start, really, you can start any way you want. I really recommend people kind of be really random with it and kind of try to get a really diverse look at products. But in terms of, how to start, where are those good brainstorming places? I think Amazon bestsellers list is, the best. You can also look at Amazon's movers and shakers and things like that. And really, I think that's the best source to just get your mind going. And obviously, you want to be avoiding, products and markets that have really heavy brand loyalty, especially. So you don't want to get into start selling toothpaste or diapers or something like that, because it's going to be really tough to mess up, to disrupt the leaders of that market, because people really buy based on brand name there. Going through and looking for products that are small, easy, light light to ship, easy, inexpensive to ship, and just kind of going through and throwing all those on the spreadsheet and going through and getting the data points on that. And as you go through and do this, you'll kind of start to get better and better at it. The real key, though, and the real benefit is just having a consistent way to look at all these products and a consistent scope to look at them through. Because when you have that, you can use that law of averages to your advantage and say, okay, I got 100 products on here. I got to have 4 or 5 that are good. And compared to all the other ones, here's the ones that really stand out.
What kind of metrics are you looking for on that sheet?
So let me actually bring it up here really quickly. I know, the first 2 metrics that we look at are the MOQ and the buy price. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that's the first ones we look at. That's the first ones on the spreadsheet, though. The first thing I actually look at is, because I'm on Amazon, first thing I list on there is the Amazon sell price. Or I'm sorry, the Amazon revenue, actually. So if it's not a Prime product, you would actually add up the sale price plus the shipping to get your total revenue. But you're throwing, I got the spreadsheet up here now. So you're throwing from Amazon, you're throwing the Amazon sell price in, and then you also get the eBay sell price. So this is from Terapeak. You get the eBay sell price, the sales volume, the sell-through ratio. Now, the sell-through ratio is really key here. The sell-through ratio is basically, okay, out of 100 products, how many, out of 100 listings of this product, out of 100 people trying to sell this product, how many actually sell? So, if you have a 60% sell-through ratio, it indicates that there's a lot more buyers than sellers in that market, rather than, a 20% sell-through ratio, only 2 out of 10 listings are selling. That would indicate a pretty weak market where there's, a ton of sellers and things like that. Because, we find all the time people are, and I'm kind of getting off track here, I'm sorry, but...
No, this is good. So guys, if you go to startupbros.com and it was /workbook.
Yeah.
And so that automatically downloaded this Excel file, so you can kind of follow along. No opt-in required or anything at this point. And so I'm looking at this thing, and I'm glad you're walking through it because it is a little bit tough. So sell through 30-day sell through, and I'm seeing numbers kind of ranging from 20 to 60%. And in that case, the higher the better, because that indicates the more listings that are moving units.
Right, exactly. And we find all the time that, people have this, and not only in importing, but pretty much any market when, new entrepreneurs are getting started, people are always really afraid of the competition, almost overly afraid of competition. And I always encourage my clients, don't be afraid of competition. Competition is a good thing. If there's people competing for buyers, that means that there's a healthy market there and it's profitable to compete for those buyers. So you want some competition. You definitely don't want to be the first to market in most cases, but that's another topic. But so anyways, yeah, people are really worried about competition, but you shouldn't be worried about competition. What you should be worried about is product and market saturation. And that, is basically, what's the balance between buyers and sellers? Because I don't really care, how much competition there is if there's a ton of buyers out there. But if there's a ton of competition out there and the buyers, are leaving the market and they're shrinking, that's not a market you want to be in. So the sell-through ratio kind of gives you a view to that market saturation. How saturated is your market? So yeah, like you said,
it sounds like a fine line. It sounds like a fine line between competition and saturation. So the joke in the industry has become the silicone like barbecue gloves, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so there's like 1,000,001. You can look them up on Amazon. There's 1,000,001 listings of these like silicone barbecue gloves because they're cheap to manufacture, and for a while they had a good margin, but now it's kind of saturated. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably one of the most saturated products there is out there. So yeah, that one's definitely that one's pretty saturated. Yeah, that's definitely a legend in the industry too. But it's interesting you mentioned that too, because a lot of people, you can go through those silicone barbecue gloves, and because it's such a competitive market, we actually use those listings as examples of kind of like stellar listings because they really have to compete on their listings.
Okay.
So you'll see some great listings there. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that market though.
Okay, no, that's a good place to go for tips on best practice, how to create your sales page, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. They have, great, they're almost at the cutting edge of it too. It's kind of a weird place to say that the cutting edge of anything is, but yeah, it's kind of breeded that, people have to be so competitive with it. People are always testing with new bonuses. People are always kind of throwing money back guarantee, seals of guarantee approvals and things like that, on their images. FDA approval on their images. So all kinds of fun stuff, and you can kind of see, which ones are affecting sales the most.
Okay, so I'm looking kind of for products similar to that, and on the previous show we talked about the example of like these onion goggles. Like it may be branded, but it's something that I don't really care. I'm not looking for like Oakley onion goggles. It's like I don't care. And the product I bought today on Amazon Prime was like a mini like cell phone recharger thing. So it's like, hey, I'm going to be traveling. I'm not going to have access to an outlet, but I'm going to be using my phone a lot. So here's something I can plug it into. And like, I don't care about the brand. Is always like, is that something that's like too technical to bring to market, or are you kind of looking at something like that, or more simplistic kind of products?
The one thing we do recommend people stay away from is electronics. Okay. Just because, and it's definitely possible to make money with electronics. Obviously, there's tons of companies doing it. But if you are just starting, it's not the path of least resistance. There's a lot of little variables and complexities with electronics that are hard to deal with. So yeah, electronics and things that have electricity running through them, that's pretty much the only thing I wouldn't recommend. So, but yeah, like you said, unbranded products, really important. Again, if you're trying to break in and start selling, floss or, toothpaste, it's going to be really tough to compete with, Colgate and all those big dogs. So yeah, big brand loyalty you want to stay away from. Really complex products and things that require really precise manufacturing, you're generally going to want to stay away from. So yeah, that's just a few things. And yeah, I mean, to talk about what you really do want is, yeah, the things you mentioned are definitely good. You definitely want them to be light and simple to ship. That's always the most important thing, because shipping is going to be your most expensive thing besides your cost of goods, and in some cases even more expensive than cost of goods. So yeah, you want to minimize, get products that minimize those shipping costs. Look for small, light products that have a high air tolerance. So they can have manufacturing errors and you can still sell them. So you're something like a pair of shorts. If some threading's off, it's pretty reasonable that you can probably sell most of the pairs, even with some threading off and some imperfections and things like that. However, if you're selling a computer, or a car engine, one little thing goes wrong and all of a sudden you're out 20, 30 grand. So
okay, that makes sense. So scrolling through, brainstorming on the Amazon bestseller list, moving the movers and shakers for something, and even if it's just something you might be shopping for yourself, like, hey, that might be an opportunity as well. So anything else we should know about on the finding a profitable product side? Like, is there a particular minimum margin you're looking to find on a per unit or kind of a...
So there is a minimum margin. What we always say with our clients is we kind of coin this term startup sweet spot. So, the startup sweet spot we say for margin is 67% after it's all said and done. So, if you can get a 67% profit margin, and that would mean if you're buying a product for $5, you're selling it for 15. If you can attain that margin, that's really the kind of margins you can grow a business quickly on. A lot of people get, really excited about the 50% margins and things like that. But honestly, once you really get up and running, you're going to see that 50% margin just isn't enough to grow a business on. You really need that 67%.
Okay, and that's the spread between your acquisition costs and what it's selling for on Amazon, yes?
Yeah, and the closer you can get to a 67% margin at the end of the day when it's all said and done, the better. But yeah, and you'll see on this product's spreadsheet, people are always emailing us and saying, are these numbers supposed to be concrete, or these, how's this going to work in the end? So, it's really important to understand that this spreadsheet in the workbook is really made to give you a comparative view of a lot of products. So these numbers aren't going to be exact. They get more concrete as, you kind of go right on the spreadsheet and fill out more data. But they're never going to be concrete. These are just going to give you a really good comparative view of a bunch of different products, so you can look at a ton of products and say, okay, these 2 or 3 are the best. Now I'm going to try these. And it's really important to realize, entrepreneurship, you got to take that risk. So at the end of the day, there's no way to really verify these numbers without going out and buying some samples and selling those samples and actually seeing what it sells for.
Yeah, I'm looking at the handheld air pump, which says it costs 30 cents a piece, minimum order quantity, only 100 units, only $30 from Alibaba. And then I'm assuming you're gonna have to ship it over here. And then this thing sells for $7, a 97% margin or something. Is this legit?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, as you go through, you would. again, go through and fill out the spreadsheet as fast as you can, right? Don't worry too much about verifying it at this stage, because that's really where people get lost in this process, and that's where people get frustrated and overwhelmed, is because they'll go in and they'll start going through products and they'll get to what would be the third or fourth product on the spreadsheet, and then they kind of lose track of what they were looking at before. They don't really know what metrics really matter. How are they gonna they don't really know what they're doing. So it's really easy to get lost in it, and that's this spreadsheet's really useful for that. Don't go through, because it's really easy to go through and say, okay, handheld air pump, oh wow, 97% margin. Now I need to go through and verify that that's actually 97% margin. Now I need to see if that's the right air pump I was buying, and if it's the right one that's selling, and if there's some really premium air pump that got into my data that I need to get out of my data. So to wrap up, the handheld air pump, you could very easily, just going through there, kind of lose yourself in it. But that's what this spreadsheet's good for, is just go through really speedy, and go through and fill out the data on the spreadsheet. And then once you have 50 or 100 products, then you can go through and say, okay, the handheld air pump looks interesting. Now let's go verify the data. That's the only way not to get lost in it, in my opinion.
Okay. And then is there any other kind of numbers that you're looking for that you really want to see, versus things that are going to be worth pursuing, versus okay, I'm not going to give that a second thought?
Yeah, definitely. So for sell-through ratio, we like to see at least 30%. Anything below 30%, really kind of iffy. Anything below 25%, really not smart to go into in most cases. So 30% minimum, and the higher the better, really. The highest products have 60, 70% sell-through ratio.
These are the numbers that are coming from Terapeak.
Yeah, and that's why I'd really encourage you. Terapeak, really, really useful with this product research. And again, you can see our philosophy on product research is, get a ton of data out there and then find the best one out of them. So Terapeak's really going to help with kind of speeding through this thing. Because again, you can do it without Terapeak, and you can manually go on eBay and look at how many are selling and kind of get a good idea that way. But you can imagine, to do that for 100 products, it's gonna take forever. So
yeah. So free trial, 7 days, and then I'm on their pricing page right now. It says only $750 a month. Beyond that, but billed annually. So
yeah, and it's worth mentioning that you need the pro account to get access to the sell-through ratio.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're
$15 a month. Okay.
Yeah, but again, you can easily just cancel out of that. That's what we recommend most clients to do, but don't tell Terapeak. So,
okay.
And then the last thing too is sales volume. Obviously, sales volume, and we usually get 90-day sales volume. But if you're selling less than $500 a month on eBay, then the product is probably not going to be the best product, unless it's really selling well on Amazon or something like that. So, and let me think if I have any other good little tidbits for you. Oh, one good one is for the buy price. So we actually call this the startup sweet spot for the sales price. Your product pretty much has to sell above $10, because if you're selling any product below $10, the shipping cost on each individual unit is pretty much going to wipe out any profit margin you have. So you can imagine, even if I gave you, like one time a client emailed me with a pair of sunglasses that cost like $5 or $6 on Amazon. And he said, "What do you think of these? I can get them for like $1 or something." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Listen, I could send you 1 million of these sunglasses for free, and every time you sold one, you would lose money, because it would cost you, $5, $50, $6 to ship them out, and they're selling for $4 to $6."
Well, there you go. Just take the air out of my sales on this handheld air pump at $7.
Yeah, that exactly. Same with we have the pet food can cover. And you know what? I'll actually give your audience an updated version of this. We kind of have an updated version with some really cool, more recent product finds, because we found some products that were just unbelievable. It would cost you $200, $300 to get into, and there's some great products out there. So I'll make sure to add in some good products for your audience.
Okay, that's cool. And if even I wouldn't say go to town on any of these, but use these as a starting point to kind of begin your search and say, okay, what other similar products might be out there, and just do your brainstorm, do your homework from there.
Yeah, you don't want to end up with the next silicone barbecue gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. After people kind of go through the workbook, what we would recommend doing is what we call the sample selling process. And that's, going out and reaching out to suppliers for that product and just starting to talk to them and request that first sample order. It's usually going to cost anywhere from 50 to $150 to get that first sample shipped from China to the U.S.
Okay.
And yeah, you take that sample, put it up on. We would recommend eBay, just because Amazon very strict, very high standards for its sellers, and very strict with those standards. So you don't want to screw up on Amazon. So I would recommend with the sample process, because we're really trying to figure out if the product even lives up to the expectations of a paying customer. So I would recommend selling that on eBay and get 10 samples of those, that product that you've chosen, and yeah, sell those on eBay. See what happens. See what the actual sell price is. See, is it more or less expensive to ship than you thought? Was it more or less expensive to get it into the country than you thought? Did the customers like it? Were they ecstatic about it, or were there some features that they didn't like about it? Did the product break on the customer after a few days of use? So this sample selling process is really that last stage of that last safety net for us before we really scale up, because we want to make sure that the product is up to those standards, all the numbers check out and everything before we start scaling everything up.
Okay. Do you create like a dummy eBay account in case it is horribly manufactured?
So the thing is, obviously, for your first sample, I would recommend kind of bypassing the whole fulfillment process and getting it to your house or, wherever you're at, and actually inspecting it yourself. So make sure it's actually, up to those standards.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that you're not able to see. For instance, like when I first started this, for anyone that doesn't know, like when I was like 12, 13, I started importing stuff. But when I was like 14, I started importing sheets, and I ordered like 5 pairs of sheets, and they looked pretty good. I mean, I was a 14-year-old boy, so like I threw the sheets on my bed, and like, yep, they work definitely. So I started selling the other samples I had, and those went out the door, and I waited a few days, no bad feedback. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy a ton. So I bought like 500. And I think it was like a day or two before they got to my door, all of a sudden I just started getting all this bad feedback on eBay. And basically what had happened was, the first time anyone washed those sheets, they just started leaking. Everyone lost all their color and ruined other stuff. So, it also gives you a safety net for that sort of thing, because sometimes you're not able to put yourself in your customer's head enough, especially when you're doing importing and just kind of randomly picking products. If you're not into cooking, or, if you're not into skydiving and you're selling some piece of skydiving gear, it's really tough to get in the head of a skydiver, right, to judge your product.
Zero liability in skydiving products, I imagine.
Yeah, I mentioned that actually for that exact reason. It always sticks out to me. I had a client that wanted to do skydiving, like mechanics and rigs and stuff.
Oh gosh!
Yeah, this is a bad idea, I think.
I love it. Will, you're a serious hustler, importing stuff at 14. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So what's next? So I've got my product. I've kind of ordered those samples. I've sold the first few on eBay just to kind of validate, hey, this is a price I can get. Customers seem to be happy with it. Then it's on to the big show at Amazon.
Pretty much. We always say
we skipped a step, and that was talking with the manufacturers, actually.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, honestly, the first sample, I guess there's one hack that we really give every client that is just an absolute must, and that's always speaking to your supplier as like a secretary or an assistant or something. You never want to be the boss, because it's really gonna buy you a lot of flexibility in negotiations, and kind of buy you a lot of flexibility if you're new and you don't know what you're doing. We recommend this even for the big dogs, but if you're new and you don't know what you're doing, if you act like you're the boss and you go to a supplier and say something stupid, they're going to be like, all right, this is some guy in his mom's basement. But if you go and say, hey, listen, I'm this guy's assistant. He asked me to look at, or go find some new suppliers for this product we're looking to sell. All of a sudden, if you're just some assistant, you have a lot of leeway to say stupid things. So
okay.
So you get a lot of leeway there, and obviously in negotiations too. You can say, hey, what's the price of this unit, and they'll come back and say, hey, here's the price. And you can say, listen, I know we're really good friends and everything, but my boss said that this price is just too much, and we have to bring this price down. So I'm sorry, we're friends, I know, but my boss put his foot down here. So it lets you be assertive while still retaining and maybe even enhancing that relationship with them, which is very important.
Okay. I like it.
So yeah, this is a lot of little client tips too. So this will be a good session for you guys. But yeah. So
And so
after
this is on Alibaba. This is like I'm talking to my manufacturer over there, and I'm kind of going through like I'm looking to get this first sample shipped to me before ordering a whole lot. And they want to impress you, right? Like, hey, they want that bulk order business.
Yep, exactly. And funny you should mention that too, that they want to impress you, because we always say, your first sample order is really like your first date with a girl, or your first date with anyone. You're kind of on your best behavior, and it's kind of the best version of yourself that you put on display. So that's the same thing these suppliers are going to do. So yeah, really make sure you enjoy working with the supplier and that everything goes smoothly, because this is probably as smooth as it's going to be, to be frank. That first sample order is usually pretty easy to get. That first order of 5 to 10, and a lot of people, most other people that do this would recommend doing 2 or 3 samples. I recommend doing 5 to 10 just because then you can really start making money on your first sample order and not have to wait the extra month to just break even the first month. So it kind of depends on your risk tolerance. But yeah, 5 to 10 samples. And what we always say to our clients, get absolutely sick of hearing this, is the thing that separates the winners from the losers in this game is getting a sample in and out the door. And if you can get a sample in and out the door quickly, effectively, you're pretty much guaranteed success. That's really what differentiates the people that have success with this business and the people who don't. So that first sample order, and that first sample, selling that first that first set of samples, a really big milestone. And you definitely shouldn't, even if you're just making a little bit of money on it, or if you're just breaking even, it is really a big milestone. Not many people get to that stage. So yeah, in terms of what to do after that, though, after you get that sample in and out the door, then people are always saying, how do I know at that stage if I want to move forward with the product? And I always say, just wait and you'll know. Like, if the product's moving quick, you'll be excited that it's moving quick, and you'll be excited to get that next order in, and you'll be excited to grow your business quick. So that's kind of how if you're making money with it, that's how you know to continue with it.
It just comes down to how big of a bet you want to place at that point in terms of, what kind of quantity to order up next. Because when we talked with Andy, he's like, hey, look, it's not unreasonable to get a bulk shipment in, your first shipment of, $500, $1,000 worth of product, which is still an investment. Like, it's still, you're putting you have some inventory risk there, but it's not like, I don't know, in the grand scheme of startups, it's relatively low cost.
Yeah, and it's important to realize too, so many people that get into this have come from, so many young entrepreneurs especially are kind of so entwined in the digital realm. It's easy to forget that, you're buying inventory. So it's not just a completely sunk cost. It's not like you're buying Facebook ads or something and the money's just gone out the door. You still have that hard, inventory there to sell. Right. So yeah, it's very rare you see someone take, an absolute loss or even a large loss doing this. But I am glad you mentioned that. In terms of the growth curve, I'm glad you mentioned kind of, what is it just up to your risk tolerance at that point? To a certain extent, it is up to your risk tolerance. And we have some clients that are, have a higher risk tolerance, and they'll go out and instead of doing one sample, they'll order 5 or 10 samples of, 6 or 7 different products, and really kind of jump their growth curve by, 6 or 7 months for someone that's just going to do one product a month. So your risk tolerance definitely plays a role here. But yeah, the growth curve that we recommend people follow is, after that first order of 5 to 10 samples, then do 25 to 50, then up it to 100 to 200, then 250 to 500, and then really the sky's the limit. But you do have to kind of scale up slowly. We always say to our clients, counterintuitively, the quickest way to grow this business is to scale up slowly. So, to really figure out where the volume's going to cut off and where you're going to run into issues, or, where you're going to top off on Amazon sales and have to go on eBay or your own website. It's tough to know those things until you know them. So it's important to scale up kind of slowly, and that's the growth curve we would recommend. People always ask us too, how can I get the MOQ on the second order down as well? Because most people have a higher MOQ than 50, obviously.
Yeah.
So what we recommend for that is, honestly, it's pretty much just bluffing. So if you've done everything kind of right up to here and you've done the secretary hack, then they kind of think you're a pretty big company already. So what we recommend is just going to him and say, hey, listen, my boss said we got to get an order of 50 in. We have 50 locations. We have 50 mall kiosks around the country, and we need to get a sample into each and every one of our sales reps' hands so they can test it in their individual mall and their individual market. So I'm sorry if our sample order is too big for you, but we're just a big buyer, and this is what it's going to have to be. So most of the time that tends to work pretty well in my experience. So
pretty soon some manufacturer's going to be listening to this, and he's going to tell all his buddies and be like, hey, look, those Americans are just trying to pull one over on us.
Right. Especially we give like email templates and stuff too to our clients. So they're going to be we're all getting the same email.
Yeah, this sounds familiar. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's really the whole process that we teach in a nutshell. Obviously, we go really in depth with our clients to really optimize individual pieces of their business and help them build their supply chain and really scale up correctly and everything. But that's really the start of it. And like I said, the thing that really separates the winners from the losers is getting that first sample in and out the door. Once you do that, once you take that leap, everything just kind of becomes much easier after that and kind of just starts to figure itself out. So yeah, I mean, that's really what I would make my first goal. If I was just starting out, my first goal would be, get 50, 100 products on that spreadsheet, find a few good ones, and then go order some samples of them and work on selling those samples and see what happens.
Yeah, it's a really cool kind of business because, like I've seen the stories of people who started out, with the little scanner app, with the Profit Bandit app in Walmart. And I'll say, hey, this retail arbitrage thing is kind of fun, but it's tough, still time consuming. How do I scale it up? We're climbing the mountain, and Will is our Sherpa. Will is showing us the way. If people want to learn more about this stuff, where should they go?
Yeah, definitely. So our website, startupbros.com, we have tons of great importing articles on there, tons of great e-commerce articles, Amazon ranking articles, all sorts of fun stuff for people doing these business models. And yeah, we also do, all throughout April and May here, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of free live training webinars. So all these things, it's actually pretty fun too. We give away, anywhere from like $500 to $1,000 worth of prizes on each one too.
Oh man.
Yeah, we do like trivia and stuff. So if you're there, make sure you pay attention. You can win some money. But yeah, so we're going to do a whole bunch of those, and that's really going to be focused on how to import your first product and sell it online. Really, again, get that first sample in and out the door. So we're going to go really, really in depth on that. And yeah, looking forward to it. So that would be the best thing if you're still overwhelmed after this session. I would definitely recommend that.
Awesome. We will link you up to that next webinar in the show notes for this episode. Will, thank you so much for coming on, dropping the importing wisdom, and we'll wrap it up with your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation.
I would say, so there's this quote that I just kind of understood in recent years, and it's think big, act small. So, always have that grand vision, have that big thing you're working towards, have that huge business in mind, but then think about the next smallest step you can actually take to get there. And, keep on marching towards that grand vision and keep on focusing on the next smallest action you can take to get there. And you'll be surprised at how quick you get there.
I like it. Will, thanks so much. Startupbros.com. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. Hope everyone gets a lot of value out of this. Thanks for having me.
You bet. There it is. Think big, act small. That's all we can do. One foot in front of the other day after day. And like Will mentioned, maybe the next step in moving this side hustle forward is a little more education. So if you'd like to learn more and join Will and I in that upcoming free training that I mentioned at the top of the show, register for it at sidehustlenation.com/import. That'll have the sign up page to get notifications, all the details on that. And there will be a replay if the time doesn't work for you. I think we're aiming for March 22nd in the evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time. If that time doesn't work for you, there is a replay as long as you sign up at sidehustlenation.com/import to be notified about it. And I'm kind of looking forward to learning. The more and more I hear about this business, the more and more I hear about this side hustle, it's like, man, I kind of want to give this a shot. It's relatively, like we kind of talked about, relatively low risk if you can learn how to set it up and do these sample orders right. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the product business could be my next side hustle project. Just what I need, another thing to lose focus on, but another income stream to try and test out and share the results for. So it could be pretty fun. Either way, thank you so much for listening today. All the notes and highlights from this conversation, along with Will's top tips on getting started with importing are available to you in a free downloadable PDF at sidehustlenation.com/104 or through the link in the episode description of your podcast player app. Until next time, let's go out there, make something happen, and I'll see you next week for another exciting edition of The Side Hustle Show. Hustle on.
Thanks for listening to The Side Hustle Show at www.sidehustlenation.com.